Hello there everybody, Myth, and today we're going to talk about Warlords of Draenor. Warlords? Don't you mean War Chiefs of Draenor? First of all, orcs were shamanic people until the Burning Legion came, and then they turned warlike because they drank the blood of Manaroth. Most of the warlords and or war chiefs or whatever were only existent in the time of Draenor, before it became Outland. So, if we are going to Draenor, that would be going back in time. Now, I did suggest at one point that Time Walkers would become a class in World of Warcraft. Sounds like a good idea. But, first of all, Draenor, if we went there, wouldn't look as cool as Outland. Because, I mean, look at this sky. You know what this sky is? This is the Twisting Nether. This is a chunk of Draenor that's left from its destruction. Okay? So, it wouldn't look as cool as Outland would. Outland has its own special kind of kit to it that makes it look, like a barren wasteland. Draenor wouldn't look like this. It would look pretty much just like Terracar Forest does. The whole thing. Second of all, who would be the villain in an expansion like that? Because we'd be going back in time. You'd be able to see people like Ner'zhul, Gul'dan, but as a threat, those things have already been dealt with. We killed the Lich King in Wrath of the Lich King, so if we ran into Ner'zhul, we couldn't really kill him, so he's not really a threat. He's not really threatening us if we go back in time. If we went back in time and fought Gul'dan, what would be the point of that? Gul'dan dies in the Tomb of Sargeras, so that's not really a threat. But most of the clans of Draenor were in Outlands also. You had some of the clans that live in different places. You have, the orcs that are in the Grand being one of the few left. You have the ones in Shadowman Valley out on that little island. But if anything, if we went to Draenor, that's where the orcs are from. True. But then you get into the whole thing of, well, we just got through an expansion where the end game, the end boss, was an orc. Do we really want to do that again? It seems like it would be kind of unfair to the Alliance players to say, here's another Horde-centric expansion. You would basically upset every Alliance player by saying, here's another Horde-centric expansion. So if this was the expansion, you would have another bunch of orcs as the villain. So that wouldn't make any sense at all. As far as an expansion goes, we've been to Outland. We've explored all of it. If we went back in time to experience the past of Outland, what would be the point of that? It's already happened, We do a lot of these Caverns of Time instances, yes, and we visit important parts of time. But do we change anything? No. So what would be the point of going back to somewhere like Draenor, where you couldn't really change anything and it wouldn't really have any impact on the outcome or story of the game? So that's why I'm trying to tell you, the viewer, that it's not going to happen. That's not going to be the expansion. But for the sake of talking about it as if it were the expansion, what kind of races or classes would they be able to add to the game? Well, okay, let's say that we went back in time to Draenor before it was destroyed and became Outland. You have ogres, but even then, where would the ogre starting area be? You have Arakoa. Where would the Arakoa starting area be? It would be kind of jarring to say, okay, you're back in time as these races from ancient, Draenor about 20 years ago before all the wars started, or 20, 30, 40 years, whenever the first, second wars happened. You're from this ancient time, and suddenly you're in one of these factions. So, from a storytelling standpoint, it doesn't really make much sense. As far as classes go, you probably would say, oh, let's put, demon hunters. You would probably say that demon hunters would be the class but you would have to consider the fact that demon hunters were only around when Illidan was around, which was 10,000 years, before the wars. It wasn't until Outlands existed that, he was free. So demon hunters didn't exist for that many years. They were shunned by Night Elf society because they aligned themselves with demons and, arcane magic and all that. So it doesn't seem very likely that demon hunters would make a good fit for that kind of an expansion. Maybe something like a blade character. I mean, but again, we've had nothing but Death Knights were melee class, monks were a melee class. If they added another class to the game, it would have to be a ranged class, because that you would need to balance that out somewhat. If Blizzard went back in time to Outland, it would be a detour in the story further than Pandaria was already a detour in the story. You would be going backwards even further to some other point in time that didn't really matter. So, why would we take the story arc that's, going back in time to an uncataclysmed Draenor? That doesn't make much sense. Just going, look, Burning Crusade stuff, it isn't going to bring people back to the game, especially when those people come back, if they did that, and then they have terrible things like LFR and trolls in that to deal with. So, that would actually drive a lot of players back away from the game when they come back and see, what's this LFR stuff? Just because they came back to fight Illidan, if they brought back Illidan or whatever. See, this is the problem. Nostalgia is the problem here, because it kills the game. It slows it down. The people who were nostalgic for some old period of the game that is gone and it will never come back have to learn to adapt. I mean, that's the point of the game, is to adapt to situations and things. I think what will bring people back is an engaging story, a definite threat to Azeroth, a villain for heroes to fight against. I don't see I don't get a feel of a villain from a title like, Warlords of Draenor. Who are the Warlords? You can say, well, there was this guy and that guy. Yes, but they're probably long dead now. And how do they matter to the plot of the game as it stands? So that's my argument, is that it doesn't have a feeling to it of, like there's a threat in the world and we gotta take care of it, we gotta do something. But how is Draenor relevant to us as players, as characters in the game? Why does that threaten us? The only reason that we went to Outland, how Illidan and Kael'thas and Lady Vash were so relevant, is because they were from Azeroth and they were using this place as their base to, attack Azeroth, basically. They were a threat because they were, Night Elf. Actually, all three of them. Illidan used to be a Night Elf, Kael'thas was a Blood Elf, and Lady Vash and the rest of the Naga were actually at one point elves. So they were all elves attacking, Azeroth from this place, this Outland from which they had their base. But how would we be threatened by some place in the past, where things have already happened, where Gul'dan has already basically died, how can we be threatened by this guy when he's just a ghost in the past? So that's what I want to know, I did say that Time Walkers, that would be cool, be able to visit places in the past, but not just one place. It would be more interesting to be able to visit many different places in the past. Time Walkers would make a cool class, but again, what do you come up with for their different abilities? So it's kind of it's a cool idea, which is what I was trying to explore in my video, but in the end, you're just like, what can we do with that particular idea? Not much. Okay, scrap it. What's a more interesting thing to explore? I do think we'll get a Burning Legion expansion eventually, but not until after something has called them to Azeroth. And just simply going to Outland or Draenor and saying, "Ooh, look at all the the stuff here," isn't gonna be that thing to bring them there. It's going back in time and going, "Oh, look at what used to be in this place." It's not really. It doesn't draw you into the continuation of a story. Pandaria was about finding a land that was there before the Sundering. It's this land that was lost. You have these people that were hidden from the rest of everything on Azeroth for a long time because of the Sundering. The Sundering was the important thing there. As a continuation of a story, you want to continue saying, okay, the Sundering, this place disappeared because of the Sundering, and now who will be, a good threat but the person who created that Sundering? I mean, in Dragonblight, you had the different dragon aspects, but one was missing. So he was there. You had, Onyxia and Nefarian, and so he's always been a threat. His people have always been a threat. So the Black Dragonflight were always a threat, and even now we have his little kid. And but there's a leaked picture, supposedly leaked, but it's not real, about how there's going to be demon hunters, and the two new races were supposed to be Moarg and Ethereals, but that's totally fake. That picture was fake because Moarg are these guys. The picture that they leaked, quote unquote, is actually a picture of a Ganard, which is a smaller version of those dudes. So they didn't actually do their research or homework before they, photoshopped something and took a picture of it. That's sad. If you're gonna fake something, at least do a good job of it. I've seen a lot of people, a lot of speculation on what the next expansion might be, but I think what we might see is something that's themed around islands or Azshara, pirates, Naga in general, because they are the next threat. They are the next thing up from, ourselves. And it's that particular villain or villainess who is kind of like a gateway to the next expansion. I would think, because she's the one who brought the Burning Legion to Azeroth originally, 10,000 years ago in the War of the Ancients. And, not to mention, she also made deals with the old gods to become Naga. So she has two of those major threats in WoW behind her. And I'm just saying, that seems like the logical place to go with the story. Now, whether the title will be The Dark Below or not, I don't think it's going to be Warlords of Draenor. I think Warlords of Draenor is probably going to be a Hearthstone thing. If you look at the way it's structured, it doesn't seem like it's not like the other titles for WoW. But if you look at Hearthstone, it's called Heroes of Azeroth. So if you take that particular structure of a title and say, people of planet, then you have Warlords of Draenor. Just saying. It could be the first expansion set for Hearthstone. I mean, they gotta continually come out with new cards for that thing. Otherwise, people will collect the whole set, then they'll get bored, they'll stop playing. So they have to have, more and more sets for the game. So that seems like the most likely thing of what Warlords of Draenor probably is. That's what I'm gonna speculate. I'm gonna stay fast with my idea that we'll probably see more Time Walkers, because they're taking over the Bronze Dragon's fight job in some way, but I don't think that we're going to have a Burning Legion themed expansion yet. It's coming, probably sooner than we think, because they're moving expansions out. They want to get expansions out quicker. They want to have one out every year, so it's very likely that we might see the Burning Legion in the next expansion, but not the current expansion, because they have to set that sort of event up for us. And I really don't think that we've seen the title of the next expansion leaked anywhere yet. I think that it's probably a big secret, and we'll be surprised. Well, hopefully we'll be surprised tomorrow when they announce that. I want to be surprised. I don't want it to be Warlords of Draenor, because to me that seems kind of like a cop-out. It's like, we'll go back to Outland. People were always asking, well, is Outland going to get a revamp? Well, if we went back to Draenor, that wouldn't be Outland at all, first of all. And it wouldn't be revamped, it would just be back in time. So that doesn't make much sense. There's no real threat to it. There's not a reason for it. But as far as the story is concerned, storytelling is about, a conflict. There's a threat, you're facing something immense and epic. And to go back in time to visit some warlords doesn't seem very epic. As a card set, I think it's a good idea. I just explored something. As a card set, it seems like a pretty good idea, because, you can have, already Gul'dan is in the card set, so I don't know where they would get off putting some more warlords from Draenor in there. So, what are you going to have the ogres be considered warlords? Are the ogres a big threat now? Pardon my pun. But, what is the threat? What is there to fight in Draenor that we haven't seen before? The Burning Legion was there, but we're going to eventually kick the Burning Legion's ass. We can't go back in time and kick the Burning Legion's ass before they've ever done anything, because then everything that we've ever done would be invalidated. You create a paradox. It's kind of a silly thing to say, well, let's go back in time. No, that doesn't make any sense. So that's my speculation right there. I'm gonna stick with my idea that there's gonna be an island or an ocean themed expansion, that this Warlords of Draenor is probably something other than WoW related. No way that they'd let that slip, that soon before BlizzCon, if they're trying to keep it a big secret. They really shouldn't try to keep it a big secret anymore. They should just go ahead and trademark these things, put it out in the open, let people speculate about what they think is going to happen, like, they used to. But they like to, they're trying to lead us on, surprise us. But it's kind of bad, because when we knew what was coming, we would be prepared. We were kind of like, we knew what the story was going to go to. And now that we don't know, that's probably driving away people too. They don't know what's going to happen next. Is it going to be the Burning Legion? Are we going to fight Ashara? Are we going to go to the Emerald Dream? What is it, So, nobody expected pandas. So, there was that. Other than that, I think tomorrow will be pretty interesting. Tomorrow will be interesting. We're going to have BlizzCon. They're going to say, this is the next expansion. If Warlords of Draenor is the next expansion, then it is, and I'm probably going to be not that interested in it. I'll probably just sit around and play Hearthstone. And, I do think they want to put out, some more content for Hearthstone, some expansion card sets for Hearthstone. So I would think that would be more interesting as, Warlords of Draenor. But, what do you think? What's your opinion? I wanna see your opinion, despite, Google's messing up of the YouTube comment system. What do you think is gonna happen tomorrow? You probably will see this sometime after tomorrow, so you probably will already know what the answer to this question will be, but I'm just recording it for the sake of recording it. So, there you go. I'm Mayath, and this has been my pre-BlizzCon speculation video, and I hope in some respects I am wrong, and in some respects I am right, but which is which I do not know, and I will not know. But I have the virtual ticket, and if you want to know what's going to happen tomorrow and you want to see all the panels and everything, I would recommend getting the Blizzard virtual ticket because you get a pet. You get some cards in Hearthstone, you get a banner for Diablo 3, you get I think an icon for StarCraft 2. I have not played that much StarCraft 2, so I don't know, I couldn't tell you, but it's worth it. It's worth it because you can watch it again anytime you want after that because you know you got it. So yeah, I'm gonna watch the virtual ticket tomorrow, and hopefully I'll be pleasantly surprised. Hopefully it'll be like something I didn't expect, like the Emerald Dream or something like that. That would be awesome, because you know that would be interesting. It would be interesting to see what they can do with that. People have been wanting the Emerald Dream for quite some time. Who knows, you know? But I want to be pleasantly surprised. I don't want it to be something that everyone expected, and I want it to be epic. If we have to go back to Draenor in the past, fine, I'll slog through however many levels that is, and probably just let my character sit around for the rest of that expansion, like a lot of people did for this expansion, because they didn't like pandas. I was okay with pandas. They were okay. You know, I thought they were cool. They're a cool race. They have some cool abilities. They have monks, you know. They brought us monks. I thought monks were cool. I like my monk. So, you know, there's that. But overall, hopefully I'm pleasantly surprised tomorrow. We will see. Alright, so I will talk to you tomorrow after the announcement. I will make another video. So, take care.